Yo, welcome guys. This is 2025. Fresh new year, fresh new videos. Welcome to an episode of My Opinion. My name is Taurus19. I really hope you guys enjoyed your year. I think it's chat with the New Year's thing right now, so pretty much be focusing on the future right now, which is 2025. This is our new future. But yeah, man, on this episode, I just really want us to discuss what's coming, this year. What are we anticipating, and what do these artists have for us, man? I think a lot of us are really, really contemplating on, Nesty C project, seeing that he has completed the deal with Universal Def Jam. So yeah, a lot of us are really anticipating a really good project, and most of the independent artists are actually waiting to see, how Nesty C is actually going to push, and it's going to be. Uh, this is actually a new thing for us artists and also, let's say, audiences, because we are experiencing for, let's say, the first time, um, our golden artist having to be independent, which is he became such a big superstar through these major labels. So I think it's a test of time, and it's something that's worth seeing for this year. So I really want us to just nibble around the ideas of what's going to be going on this year. I know a lot of artists are actually planning to release, and they're planning to prove themselves this year, seeing that year 2024 had, some really great gems. It really showed that the hip hop culture is not dead. It's just another passing phase, man. This happens throughout the years. This happens throughout everything, whether it's fashion, whether it's art, whether it's let me not say art, but yeah, whether it's paintings, whether it's anything that involves, let's say, entertainment and art, always comes back, goes away, comes back, goes away. So it's a revolving cycle. So right now, I'm just waiting to see how this year can actually bring some change into everything that's been happening. Because last year we did see some potential of what could happen if the game, or let's say the hip hop culture came back, and we got a nice glimpse of that with obviously Usimamane's breakout, which saw him, soaring heights that we never expected, especially for this new age. And I think it was perfect for him because now finally, we have finally transitioned into a digital age, and so the numbers are very, very apparent. And one thing I've noticed last year is that so many of our artists have actually started to, reach the mill, which was a tough thing to actually get in South Africa, especially if you were a hip hop artist. A million was like, yeah, a golden egg or something, yeah, got Easter or something. So it was wonderful to see that. And another person who never really got much kudos last year was Loatinover Pounds with his albums. I think it was second studio album. Pray for Pitori. That album was so great, man. As much as it didn't get a lot of attention, but I believe that with time, the replay value is gonna tell people, what was really what. Usmamane's project was obviously super big because it's his debut, um, which is the same thing that happened for Loatinover for with Soshplata. Yes, the numbers were not the same. They did not reach the same respect, but definitely pushed around the same way to Soshplata. And so I'm really waiting to see what more is coming from these gents. We saw King Keed finally getting on stage, with one of his, rap moguls, Benny the Butcher, and that must have been something that really woke up his spirit and motivated him, to come back. I really want to also see what Reese is gonna do this year. Last year he dropped a mixtape. I don't know. Don't you guys think it's actually due time for an album now? I know he drops every year, but yeah, man, it's a Reese thing, and us fans, we like that thing. We like him dropping every time. So let's watch on that and see what's gonna happen. Another thing that I'd really like to discuss, is lack of female artists, especially in the hip hop field. I can see Amapiano is jammed with female singers. Less rappers, but yeah, man, we really need a lot of female artists to be popping out there and showing themselves. And this is not only, for hip hop, also Afro pop, R&B. You know, these genres have, fallen off, the charts, and this is something that's very surprising, especially when it comes to Afropop, because that was the most, if not the most relevant uh, genre, one of the most relevant genres in the country. Giving us Abo Mafigizolo, we had like Vusinovas, we had Abo Nati Mangai, we had Elaine at a certain point, representing the new age R&B scene. So I would really like to see, these new female artists coming up and, putting it out there that, bakhona nabo, because I really think the game is missing something, and what it's missing is structure. A lot of us are really trying to imitate what's happening in Hollywood, and when we try to imitate it, it's like we are always missing the key components that make it what we see it to be on TV. The performance art, the charisma within, behind the artist, and, with the artist. I think right now, because of the age of social media, it has just been diluted into, just seeing pictures and, liking. I think another thing when it comes to what we should expect more of in 2025, I feel like it's more music videos for Amapiano artists. I think, I understand these guys are charging a lot of money. They probably don't care about the visual. But when it comes to something that's gonna carry on and that's gonna hold, for a very long time, I think a visual representation of a song does that very well, because it gives people, kind of a nostalgic feeling of how it was. You know, um, we can see the same feeling missing when it comes to our own, let's say, old classic songs, that were being released back then in South Africa. Um, we don't see them anymore because, most of some of those tracks were never actually, recorded for when it comes to videos, and so they just end up, as an audio file that you'll remember if you were in that era. But, for some of us who were not and would like to experience, what happened, the type of styles, they were looking into at that time, it's very hard for us to try to hop into that state of mind or even that period and maybe take in some motivation. But I really hope that will change going forward, especially, considering that we have like great artists like Abu Kelvin Momo, who are always creating anticipation behind their releases. So I really hope you're going to see some more videos from those gents. Um, I think another thing that really needs, some tough discussion, is MT. Yeah, man. Our OG, yeah, we saw him, with the young Campbell Nyana last year. But I really want to see, man. He was working on MT Records. He had an artist, Young Seruno. You know, uh, it's kind of messed up that we've never had anything from that artist, considering that he was signed to someone who's, very relevant and someone who's always on social media, um, speaking, just dumb stuff. Uh, Not to disrespect, but yeah, just speaking dumb stuff. I would really expect to hear more from their artist and their label. So I want to see what's gonna happen on that side of also of the side of the town. I really hope that young Soruno, um, you know, makes some motion. Because it's not enough being signed to a superstar when you're trying to be one yourself. So I really hope the doors open for the young brother there, and things happen, because it's really hard, to be in competition with the same person who's supposed to be, running your image. Um, Not to, cut his wire short, but I don't really think that MT should be, you know, really, seeking relevance at this period. Not saying he is, but when you are always online, being involved in conversation, comments, and stuff like that, I think it is a call for attention, and that call for attention is being directed towards the wrong influence. because I think that same promo could be directed towards his record label, so maybe his artists could get a bit more recognition and a bit more coverage behind them as well. The same way he did when he was at Ambitious, because everyone knew MT at that time. Whether you were listening to hip hop or not, you heard that song play and you knew who he was. So I believe that his artists do deserve the same, and they do deserve a platform where they can also be showcased as superstars, because most of these people are dope, but then again, being dope alone does not work at all. There's so much more behind the scenes that happens, maybe that even MT is not aware of, that he can make certain moves behind the doors. But I think that's why it was important that he was in a label and the label was able to pull those strings for him. And so now that he has opened his own, he's able to recognize the necessary movements that he needs to make. And he can try to also imitate what Ambitious had done for him, and maybe try to implement the same thing for his artist. Yeah, but I really hope that NT Records, is still a thing. Um, Not forgetting that he did sign to Empire. Excuse the rain, guys. So yeah, I just really hope that he pushes it, because there are so many young artists out there. Not only talking about young Serena, but there's so many young artists, dope artists right out there, and they've lost the notion of being signed to a record label, and in a way it seems good, but I feel like it's as bad as it is good, because I think it's also important to recognize that some artists are just very good artists, but they're not really good business, men. They don't have any acumen whatsoever. And so when you put them in a position to run themselves, they just run themselves into a wall. So I really hope that we will get either our young artists or our OGs pushing these labels, and educating these youngins on how to make moves, because I honestly don't believe it'll just happen with TikTok and Instagram, because let's face the truth, you do get your hit on TikTok, you get the traction, you get everything, but managing and balancing that is one thing. That's where you need a whole team for. And when you lose hope in stables like management services or record labels, you typically lose hope in the system that is created to make you look or even seem like the superstar to the next person, because the way this thing works is more about perspective and less about the music that's produced. And so I think if artists can really work on tuning perspective, then they will see themselves reaching the heights that they really want to reach. Yeah, but I think that's a conversation that should be extended onto further episodes. But I think it's a question that we should put in mind as well and just pinpoint it right there. Yeah. So 2025, let's see what happens. Amapiano as well. I really want to see, man. I just also kind of have a terrible feeling with the genre, and the reason I will say that is because I feel like it's growing too fast. Um, yeah, I feel like it's growing too fast, and there is sort of a delay period between the world experiencing it and us, distributing it, because you know, we'll be up to date when it comes to certain trends in Amapiano, certain styles of it, and etc. etc. But when it comes to the rest of the world, they're just exposed to one type of it, or even let's say one concept or idea of what it is. And so by the time it reaches those masses, to us it has already changed like 4 or 5 times. We've already went through how many stages of Amapiano within the past 3 years. It's incredibly dangerous for the genre as much as it is good, because we are the reason I'm saying it's dangerous is because we are not preserving the organic material. Instead, when we are force growth growing it, we are putting it at a point where the rest of the world is not able to adapt, because it's constantly changing. And if they're not able to adapt, then they are not able to practice it. And if they can't practice it, then I guess it's just short life for the genre. And so I think we should focus on, creating stables to make sure that even when we do become creative, we understand that we are being creative at a certain expense, and that expense should never be, you know, at our own expense, of maybe, you know, uh, minimizing the traction that the genre should have. Because in South Africa we are well aware of Mozambique, private school, Canada, Bacardi, all these other things, but when you go overseas, to them it's just one thing, you understand? And so when we break it down into so many fragments, peas and stuff like that, it's not really that easy for a foreign consumer to adapt to it, because they first need to familiarize themselves with the sound in order for them to hear it next time and say, oh, that's Amapiano, oh, that's Bacardi, oh, that's private school, And so if everything is always mashed into one, you get these dance challenges, written Amapiano when it's Bacardi, you know, they kind of conflict. It's kind of like a conflict of interest when it comes to the genre, and it does not work for its favor. It seems like it does when you see all these TikTok challenges and stuff. But I feel like a genre grows, you know, once it's been, let's say, practiced, or yeah, practiced in different nations, in different ways as well, but also paying respect to the originality, the same way us as South Africa, we've taken American hip hop and we've tried to Africanize it, adding our own elements, our own lingo. I feel like the same thing needs to happen to Amapiano overseas. So in that way, they will be able to get something that would be comfortable, you know, um, with their type of sound or even aesthetic. I would like to really make an analogy with, let's say, One Dance by Drake. That song was originally by Wizkid, uh, but when Drake took it and asked 40 to chop it up, sample and make it a whole new thing. He took Afrobeats, which was already a known thing in Africa and the rest of the world, and familiarized it, you know, with the audience that didn't really know the language or where it comes from. And so in that manner, he was able to bring everyone, into this one genre, because it did not, put him in a shell that, what, if you rap on piano, you must sound like this. If you rap on Afrobeat, you must sound like this. I feel like that's the problem we are having, with Amapiano, because when we are featuring international artists, we kind of feel like they have to have our source or maybe our style in order for them to succeed in, let's say, representing or even joining in the genre. And that really limits, you know the lifespan of the genre, because if people can express themselves um, in their different ways, then they will find other means to do that. And so, which means that, it decapitates the purpose of pushing the genre. So I really feel like before we take it further, before we transition into all these revolutionary sounds, let's focus on building a stable base, so that in the future, even the rest of the world will understand when we revolutionize, or when we change our sound, where we come from and where we are going. The same way we've been able to track the American culture, the transformation of hip hop from the 80s to now. So I really believe that it's important for us to look at the genre and keep keep, let's say, note of the stages that it's going through before it passes, um, and then by the time it gets to the rest of the world, we have moved on, and it loses relevance again. So yeah, guys, these are my thoughts for 2025. I really hope you guys enjoy the video. If you watched it till the end, thank you very much. Please do subscribe and like and do everything else that people do on YouTube and stuff. Yeah, I really hope you guys get some informative content. If you really have an idea that you want to put out, or maybe a comment that you have, please put it down below and tell me what you think. I'd like this conversation to expand further. I'd like to know what you guys think, and what are you anticipating for 2025? What's on your vision board, and what are you seeing?